I want you to do 2 times 1. Hi, you. Come here. Okay, 2 times 2 is what?
4.
Yep, and then 2 times 3 is 6. Okay, 2 times 8.
Here's a glimpse of our typical homeschool day. Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jessica Smith and I help you simplify home education so you can work wonders in your home. Today I'm going to talk about what our daily rhythm looks like. Now, I made a video almost 2 years ago where I talked about what our daily rhythm looks like with a newborn. Now that I have a toddler, our days look very different. They're still going to have the same structure, but we've had to adapt to having a toddler in tow. Now, if you are new to homeschooling or considering homeschooling, this is a great video or podcast to listen to get a feel for what a day looks like. We do not do school for 8 hours a day. It is very much more of a lifestyle. And I have a special gift for you today. I spent many hours compiling all of the scriptures, all of the poems and excerpts from Shakespeare, the artists and their paintings, composers, everything that I do for our family gather time into a 12-year rotation so that I fit in everything so that each child is able to get all of that goodness during their 12-year education. So I have that 12-year rotation available for all of you. Just enter your email address in the link below and I will send that to you. And without further ado, here is what a daily schedule or a daily rhythm looks like with our family of 4 boys. So my day starts at about 7:30 when I wake up and I either walk a couple miles around our park, which is close to our house, or I work out downstairs if it's too cold to go out. I definitely prefer walking, but in the winter, I'm also kind of a wimp. And I'm also not an early bird. I don't get up till 7 or 7:30. I'm definitely not one of those moms that gets up at 5. So I wake up, I leave a sunrise snack on our table, and that's a term that I got from Jillian Margaret Wellness. And she just makes a quick snack like some homemade gelatin gummies made out of gelatin and fruit juice, or some healthy muffins, something that I made the night before that I have on the table for them to just grab if they wake up before I do or while I'm working out or walking. And so once everyone's up, probably around 8:15, then we all gather at the table and eat breakfast together. And I like to do our family gather during this time. There are certain subjects we can do while we're eating, like composer study. I like to listen to our song while we're eating. It's the perfect time. And then there's other things like recitation that does not work as well when we're sitting at the table with our mouths full of food. So just depending on what it is, sometimes my husband will read our scriptures. Sometimes I will read the scriptures or read aloud while we eat breakfast. And in case you don't know what family gather is, that is my term for our morning time or power hour, whatever you want to call it, when our family gathers together to study the content-based subjects that teach truth, beauty, and goodness. So that can be things like scriptures, recitation, singing, composer study, artist study, and even a family read aloud that's classic literature. And then we have a daily discussion. Now, this kind of takes the place of individual lessons for each child. So when you first start homeschooling, you kind of think, oh man, I've got to have a lesson plan for history for every one of my kids for their grade level. And I have to have an individual geography and science and all of these other subjects. And really, truly, the content-based subjects can be combined either for the whole family or for kids that are similar ages. So in Charlotte Mason schools, that was Form 1 was 6 to 9 years old. Form 2 was 10 to 12 years old. And so for some subjects, those kids come together, and for most subjects we come together as a family and we have our daily discussion. So for example, history is on Monday. So we come together and we share what we're learning in the books that they're reading during their individual time. And they're usually reading the same topics in the same historical time period. So, for example, we were learning about the Statue of Liberty a couple weeks ago. Each boy was reading a book that was at his level of understanding and reading ability. So we came together, we talked about it. Each boy shared some interesting facts or stories, ideas from his book, and we edified each other, and it's great. So that's on Monday for history. And then other days we have things like nature study and geography, and we come together and discuss those. And then we have a recitation box. Now, I like to have a box with all of the poems and scriptures that we have memorized or recited together so that we can review those. So on Mondays, we have one. On Tuesdays, we have another. And then I have it for every day of the month. There's a different poem that we have learned in the past that we review. And this just makes it so we don't forget all those beautiful words that we have put in our minds or that we furnished our minds with. After our family gather time, it's probably around 9:30, 10 o'clock. That's when my boys go for a longer play break, or what I like to call motor lab. And so in the summer and any warm months, they go outside, they jump on the tramp, they run around in the grass, they play soccer, they jump rope, and they do that for about 20 minutes. Then they come back in for their individual time. Now, during the winter, we have a large basement, and I have a therapeutic swing, I have a rock climbing wall, I have a small teeter-totter, a rebounding trampoline, those small ones that you can put indoors. I have that in the basement, and they go down there and get as much energy out as they can, and also do some specific exercises to just help with brain power. Now, I have a video on this if you're interested in seeing what kind of exercises they are and what my basement looks like, what kinds of things I've put in it for their playtime. So I'll link to that. So after a play break, then we do individual learning time. This is the time that they do skill-based subjects. So they have all of the things that they need to do based on their age, and also how long they need to do those based on their age. And I have tried many things. I got this idea from Sarah Mackenzie, who does the Read Aloud Revival podcast, and she just has a inexpensive composition notebook that you get from the dollar store. And she just writes down what the kids need to do the following day. She does this every night, and this works really well, and I did this for a year. Then I decided I wanted to just have it done, so I didn't have to spend time every night. So those are the daily planners. They have worked great. I did it last semester. This is the second semester I've done it, and I see myself doing it for years to come. I've tried a lot of different things, and this has definitely worked the best for us. So they get out their daily planners, they look at what they need to do for their individual learning time, and they also fill out their calendar. And I've talked a lot about this in a separate video on the notebooks that I use in Homeschool. So if you're interested in learning more about the calendars, the blank calendars, you can check out that video. So they fill out their calendar, they look at their daily planner and what they need to do for that day. Now, these are just the skill-based subjects, or the subjects they do on their own. So it'll be like math, their word study, drawing, and then for older boys, they're going to read their own history, nature study, and literature books. And for my Form 1 boys, I read the book to them until they are really good at reading on their own. And so my 7-year-old, I'm still reading those books to him. And I'm getting to the point where I'll read a paragraph, he'll read a paragraph, and then eventually he's going to read it all on his own. Now, we don't have a specific timetable as far as they need to do math from 10:15 to 10:45, and then they do this subject from 10:45 to 11. They just work on their books, or work on their checklist on their own. And if they need help with a subject like math, then they come and get me. And then that's kind of the time that one of the other boys will take my toddler and we'll go play with him downstairs, or if it's warm, take him outside. They also will do something we call baby school. So they'll read a book with him, they'll sing songs with him, like the Eensy Weensy Spider, Wheels on the Bus, he loves that, or they'll wrestle and play with him. They love doing baby school, and it gives them about 15-20 minute break while I work on math with their brothers. So that is something that has been really helpful, is the baby school concept and having a sibling go and play with their younger sibling. They get a break and you get some alone time with their siblings. Now, after all of this, this is kind of our morning time. We usually finish right around noon if we start at 9. And then we have lunch. And this is when I usually do a family read aloud. This is our classic book that we're reading together. And then I use those for our, I pick a sentence from those books, like well-written sentences. We use those for grammar and writing. And the younger boys will do copy work with the sentence from the book. The older boys will do dictation. And then my oldest, he does his more extensive writing practice with that. We look at the literary devices and we look at the grammar of that sentence. And so that's just one way that I combine all of us together, reading from the same book and then using that book in different ways based on the levels of my kids. And so that is kind of what we do up to lunch. Then I put my 18-month-old down for a nap. And then after a long day of homeschooling, our house is kind of a mess by 1 o'clock. So that is when we do our cleanup and our zones, is what we call it. And I have a video about how we do housework and zones and stuff and divide that up between family members. And I'll link that so you can see that as well. Then they do a handicraft and their instrument practice. Now, sometimes our cleanup will be before, sometimes it'll be after, depending on how messy the handicraft is. But I try to do a different handcraft or some other hands-on activity in the afternoons. So one day we are doing a handcraft, like this term we're doing needle felting. And then we might be doing clay another day and Sloyd another day, and then a science experiment another day, and a nature walk is another day. So that's 5 things that we do every weekday. And I am a piano teacher, and so my boys will usually do those handcrafts while I'm teaching piano lessons, which is when my 18-month-old is sleeping. And so they are pretty self-sufficient. They can either look up a video or they open the book and they'll practice their clay skills, or they'll do their needle felting or their Sloyd by themselves while I teach. And then they practice their instrument. And all of them are doing piano, and since I am their teacher, I don't really do a set lesson with them every week. I just have them show me what they're working on, and when they're ready to pass something off, then they come tell me, they can pass it off, and then I'll show them the new song to work on. Those things, the morning lessons, being outside and working out, playing, doing a handcraft, practicing their instrument, and then doing their zone or doing their assigned cleanup for that month. That is called our daily high five. And once they're done with that, then they can have their screen time. So they get 45 minutes of total screen time a day. So that would include watching a TV show or a movie, or playing typing games, or playing video games. Any type of screen is included in that, and they only get 45 minutes. They get to choose how they spend that time. So they do that usually around after piano lessons, after they've done all of their things on their high five, and then we have dinner. My boy, who is assigned to help me with cooking for that month, will come and help me cook, and then we'll just kind of clean up, and then it's time to do some free reading, to play wrestle with their dad, to play some family board games, whatever night it is. We also have a lot of activities. Usually our activities are in the evening. So if they're doing a sport, my boys love to do parkour. And then there's church activities, and those are all in the evening. And you're probably wondering, when do your kids play with other kids other than their siblings? And this happens almost every day. We have a homeschool co-op meeting on Tuesday afternoons, and they play for about 3 hours. This is totally unstructured, free play. We occasionally do something like folk dancing and learning recess games, but for the most part, they make their own games. They play outside, make forts. They I just have a great time. Then in the afternoons, the time between 12 and 5 o'clock, they'll either play with homeschool friends or neighborhood friends when they get home from school between 3 and 5 o'clock. So they play with friends almost every day between those hours, and they get a lot of socialization time, and they also have a lot of free time to just do what they want. So I hope that was helpful to see what a daily rhythm looks like for a homeschool family. Obviously, this is going to look very different for a different family, but it should give you an idea of what that looks like if you're considering homeschool, or if you need to maybe mix up your daily rhythm to better fit your family's needs. And again, if you want that full 12-year family gather schedule, don't forget to click on the link below and I'll send that to you for free. And if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you're listening to this as a podcast, don't forget to subscribe and rate the podcast. It's going to help it get out there to more homeschool mamas who need help and support in homeschooling.